all over the country. There we go, starting that recording. And it's just really great to be with you. Here's my claim to fame. I have 3 grown-up children. They're all, no, 2 out of the 3 are in their 30s. One's in her 20s, and I have 4 grandchildren and a grand dog. He's kind of my favorite. But anyway, it's so great to be with you. Our last session, I couldn't be here because I had COVID again the second time. And my beautiful friend, Dr. Connie West, jumped in and said she had a wonderful night with all of you. So again, from Franklin Covey to you, we thank you for this time. And tonight's going to be jam-packed, okay? So get on the edges of your seat, everybody. If you can get on camera, that'd be awesome. If you can't, I understand. Everyone's multitasking and you have kiddos at home, etc. But you will need your phones because you're going to want to take pictures of some of these slides. Tons of ideas tonight. So we've been through the habits. You are now habit experts. And for those of you who are new, the habits come from Dr. Stephen Covey's work, The 7 Habits of Highly Effective People, that he wrote in 1989. So we're talking today now, okay, we've learned these habits. Now, what do we do? How do we take them into the household? Well, we've done a little bit of that here and there. We talked about things we could do, right? But let's do this. Let's talk even more intentionally today about how to take these habits into the home. As I pull up my PowerPoint, would anybody like to jump in? Somebody who's been with us and maybe share with the team, what things have you taken home with you? You've been through this training. We've had 6 weeks together. What's something new that you've tried with your families? Somebody come off mute and share with us.
Well, I'll start sharing. I think my favorite habit so far is the seek first to understand and then be understood. And I've really tried to, even coming into a conversation thinking I already know what they're going to say, to actually listen and wait and think about it before I respond.
Ooh, it's hard, isn't it?
It can be.
Dr. Covey said that was his most difficult habit, habit 5. Anybody else want to share something you've taken into the household with you or to your family? Okay, you're my quiet group. I'm going to get you talking, I promise. And we will be done tonight by 7:29. But again, get your phones ready because we're going to have some great, great strategies for you to take home. And I really do invite you to use the chat box. Brittany's going to monitor the chat box for us and just interrupt me at any time, Brittany, and tell us what people are thinking. And then also, if you have something to say, please, I welcome you to say, hey, Betsy, I have something to say. Come off mute and jump in and talk. But I wanted to start with this quote. Don't you love it? Take a look at it. Kind of think you might believe this because you're here tonight and you've been here and you're investing in this work, in this thought process to make your family even better, to go from great to greater. So that's a great quote by Dr. Stephen Covey. Again, feel free to take pictures of any of this content and take it into your family meetings. You know, I'm the big promoter of the Sunday night meeting. So here's some great topics for you. Take a look at this. Agree? Feel free to give me a reaction button if you want, or a thumbs up. I love the green circle there because I think, we need to remember our families are not going to be the same. Brittany, my family's different than yours and different than Carmen. And it's good. We define our values. We define our family and what we believe and how we behave in the world. It's a beautiful gift when we think about it, that we have that opportunity to create a family. So here we go. We are going to be talking about some family basics and nurturing our family culture. All right. You're going to see some great videos tonight too. So I hope you have your Kleenex. We like to get you a little emotional sometimes because you know what? There's a lot of emotion in relationships, right? And there are a lot of emotions in families, especially when the families are very close, either in proximity or you're just very close as a family. There's going to be emotion. So here's the question. What are the common purposes of a family? Common purposes. All right, I'm just going to let that hang out there for a minute. See if anybody wants to jump in and talk about that. Anybody have thoughts? Common purposes.
I'll chime in with one, a support system.
Okay, say more about that, Brittany.
Well, I guess we're born and that's our family and we create bonds and things together and we go through trials and, tribulations, and we are very close in most cases. Sometimes, you have one or two that stray, but you're familiar with them and they become the person that you can lean on, or someone that knows you that you can speak to when you're going through hard times
Yeah, I love that. And I think,
or even great times.
yeah, there you go. And I think even if we have different families and different values, we still believe, probably commonly, I don't know, that our family is a support system. It should be a wonderful place to land at the end of the day. Dr. Phil says that soft place to land. And those are the people that should love us unconditionally, right? Should build us up and not tear us down, because the world is so hard. It's a tough world out there. Yes, believe it, feel it. And so when we're around these people that we call family, we want them to bring out the best in us and believe in us 100%. Yes. Okay. Love that answer. Thanks for that, Brittany. I know there's so many other things we could talk about. We're just going to keep rolling, because I want to start out by just sharing this with you that, some of the common things we need, talking about commonalities as human beings and as families, are right here on this slide. So let's think about this for a minute. We all have bodies and hearts, spirits and minds. There's some commonalities, right? And we all have the desire for some of these things on the screen, or maybe all of them. Take a look. And again, feel free to snap a picture if you want. Great conversation starter for your family. I love this because it helps me as a mom and as a grandmother see where I need to work. So this is a reflection tool for me and for us as well. So for example, if I'm not taking care of myself, how can I take care of my grandkids or my granddog? So I have to look at myself in the mirror and think, am I getting enough nutrition, exercise, rest? Or maybe I'm not challenging myself enough, so I'm not excited about getting up every day. There's something I can do in my mind in that area, etc. So just take a look and just think for a minute, where can you grow? That's a big question, parents. Where can you grow? And then where can you help your kiddos grow? Would anybody like to share as you see this slide? Anything that's on your mind? I love this one over here, being understood. And then as adults, especially down here in spirit, don't we all want to make a contribution and feel valued at home and in the workplace, right? Next to air, water, and food, being valued is one of the highest priorities for human beings, and to have a purpose greater than ourselves. And sometimes in the workplace, we're not fully invested because we don't understand the greater purpose of the compelling vision. So we work with our schools a lot around vision, and even sharing that with the kids, how important that is. Any thoughts, anybody? All right. Here's another way to look at that. And effective families, they create that nurturing family culture that satisfies the four basic needs of human beings. So there's our effective family slide. I love that one. It sums up almost all of the work that we've done so far over the past 6 weeks. All right, so here's the question. Now, this is something we could talk about all night. I know I'm going to have people jump in on this one. What are the common challenges that our families face in today's world? If you're not comfortable coming off mute, feel free to put something in the chat box. What are our common challenges? Love to have somebody talk, though. Anybody? Common challenges. What are we facing out there in the world? What are our kids facing? It's very different than when I was growing up in the 70s and 80s, that's for sure.
Competing with social media.
Oh, Carmen, it's wild. I mean, I sometimes joke around with my kids and I say, we used to have these phones and they had a cord and they were connected to the wall. And they're like, oh, Mom, you're so old. But that wasn't that long ago.
I know, competing with the phone, competing with the tablet, computer.
Yes.
Other peers.
Yes. Yes. And I watch my kiddos, I watch them give technology to their little ones to keep them entertained. I think, what did my mom do with me? I didn't have a tablet. I'm sure she just gave me that look and I behaved, right? A different world. Anybody else? Challenges.
I'd have to say that was a good one.
Yeah, Carmen. And I see you put stress there, Brittany. Yeah.
stress, financial issues, work. Justin said families today face the everyday pressures and anxieties of life. It can be overwhelming at times, but maintaining a strong family bond helps.
Absolutely. Again, that's your support. Think of it as the foundation of a house. So our life is this house that's built, and the foundation are those people that nurture us and care for us. And that house, your home, should be that place of love and care. It's never going to be perfect. It's just we're humans, so we're never going to have a perfect home, but we can keep trying. We can keep communicating, and we can keep using habits that are effective, right? And get rid of some of those habits that are not. And so tonight, as we talk about, strategies for the home, think about this. What are the habits that you might have? I know we could list other people's bad habits for sure, but what are the habits that you might have as a parent that you need to put to the side? Anybody? All right, we're going to take a look at a video. And this is a great video because what it does is it takes all this learning that we've had over the last 6 weeks, puts it into one video, and it reminds us of that framework called the maturity continuum. And I'm going to play it right now. Brittany, you know the rule. Thumbs up if you can see and hear it. I want to make sure we're okay. And I'll be right back with you so we can chat about this. Here we go.
To achieve lasting effectiveness, we go through a natural process of development, symbolized by the maturity continuum. Dependence is the lowest level of maturity. When we are dependent, we need others to take care of us, to come through for us, to give us our sense of worth and security. Dependence is the attitude of you. I need you to take care of me. The first 3 habits help us move from dependence to independence, which is a higher level of maturity. Habit 1, be proactive, means that we develop our own power to choose our actions and accept responsibility for our choices. Habit 2, begin with the end in mind, means that we define the kind of life we want to lead. It's creating clear objectives and laying out a vision or blueprint for what matters most to us and who we want to be. Habit 3, put first things first, is where we plan and accomplish our goals so that our lives reflect the vision we have for ourselves. Learning and regularly practicing these first 3 habits helps us to win the victory over self, attaining what we call the private victory. Where dependence is the attitude of you are responsible for me. Independence is the attitude of I'm responsible for myself. I can choose my future and make it happen. To be highly effective, there is another level of maturity, interdependence, which is the attitude of we. It's where we work together creatively with others to achieve far more than any one of us could accomplish on our own. Achieving interdependence is the goal of habits 4 through 6. Habit 4, think win-win, is the attitude of seeking mutual benefit in our relationships and interactions with others. Habit 5, seek first to understand, then to be understood, is the ability to truly listen to others, to understand and honour their perspectives and realities. It also means to communicate our own views in a way that is both open and respectful. Habit 6, SYNERGIZE, is the process of working with others in a collaborative and creative way to achieve new and better results. When we think and act interdependently, we win what is called the public victory. Without sufficient independence, people will not have the character and self-mastery to work interdependently with others. That is why habits 1, 2, and 3 come before habits 4, 5, and 6. They focus on self-mastery, on developing the strength of our own character. Private victories precede public victories. Habit 7, sharpen the saw, surrounds all the other habits and is the habit of renewal. It's the habit that gives us the power to consistently carry out the other habits in our lives. It's a pattern of daily private victories that creates an upward spiral of increasing effectiveness that lifts up to new and more rewarding levels of understanding and living.
I love her accent. I hope that was a good recap for you around the 7 habits. Any thoughts as you see that? Or as you kind of look back at all the things we've talked about? Anything come to mind? I think it's really interesting, though, that Dr. Covey talks about the highest level of human relationships. And even personally, the highest level isn't independence, it's interdependence. That, as effective parents, we want our kiddos to not only be independent, that's really important, but also to be interdependent. In other words, work well with others. In education, we say, play nice in the sandbox, right? And so when we're hiring people, and I know many of you are in corporations and businesses where you hire, that's what we're looking for. Do you agree that, we have talented people that we interview or that can come into our corporation, but we want people who can also work well with others. Any thoughts? And that's what we want from our kids too. We want to prepare them for a world where that's really important. Okay, so there it is, the maturity continuum, going from dependence to interdependence. Again, feel free to snap a picture. I want to show you something that I think is really intriguing. And the question here says, what feelings result from each culture? Remember, we're talking about building a family culture, creating that culture, that nurturing culture. Look at these two different cultures. We've got family culture 1 versus family culture 2. And you can see ineffective versus effective. So go ahead and take a look. Well, if you've even read half of it, you're probably pretty depressed by now. I think that family culture number 1 is depressing. However, I will say this, as a non-perfect human being, I've been in all of those areas. All 7 of those in family culture 1, I have fallen prey to. Maybe some of you can relate to that. Here's the goal, parents, that we don't live there, that we don't live in family culture 1. Even if we slide into it occasionally, that we recognize it, we're conscious of what's going on, that perhaps we're focusing on the weaknesses of the people that we love, for example, or maybe we're finding that we're starting to compete with others in our household when that wasn't the goal at all. And as long as we recognize that, we can get back to the right-hand side, that family culture 2, because that's where we want to live. I'd love to hear your thoughts on this. Would anybody like to jump in? Anybody? Any thoughts? Great conversation for families, right? Where are we? What do we need to do next as a family? What do we need to work on? And this can also be a part of your mission statement as a family, right? How do we want to act with each other and towards each other? And how do we want to nurture each other? Here's another way to look at it. We could actually, with our kids and our families, sit down and think about, where are we on the continuum? Are we closer to family culture 1? Most of the time. Are we closer to family culture 2 in each of these areas? Most of the time. And again, a great conversation starter for you and your family teams. Feel free to take a picture of that. I really like this. I know when my kids were little, they wanted to exercise and have more fun after school. Yeah. Anybody want to jump in?
E. E.
Okay. Remember, if you want to jump in, just come off mute and share your thoughts. We'd love to have you talk with us. All
I
right.
think this would be a great, to take a picture of this and literally show it to the family and go piece by piece and maybe agree what you could work on together. And there's great, I like the little subtitles too, to give you a little bit more to go off of.
I do too. And it's not about the blame game. That's the thing. We have to remember to set those protocols up first with the family. This is not about blaming or talking about who did what when. It's not about the past at all. It's about moving forward. So how do we learn from where we've been and then move forward as a family and then make a flight plan? What Dr. Covey calls this family piece, planning piece, is really to make a flight plan. And think about an airplane and how its nose points up into the air, and think about, as a family, where are you pointed? Where are you headed? What's your true north? What are your values? And then what do you need to do to get there? And here are just some ideas for you to think about. And again, like Brittany said, some conversation starters. Take a look at this quote from Dr. Stephen Covey. Love this one. Yeah, he's giving you a promise that these 7 habits are effective because it's not self-help. It's inside out work that we do within ourselves so that we can be even more effective with each other. Love that. The other thing, if you remember correctly, I don't know if you were with us when we talked about paradigms, but a lot of our relationships have to do with how we see ourselves and how we see others. This is one video that I'd like to show again. Even if you've seen it, it's one of those things that you could see 25 times and still learn something from. And I think it's really important that we remember our paradigms, the way we see things, can impact our families so greatly. I'm going to stop my video here. Brittany, looking at your face, you let me know when the video starts, and really enjoy this, everybody.
So much of what we do in our personal lives and at the office is the result of the paradigms we hold. And what we do, in turn, affects the results we get.
Thanks for coming to the meeting today, everyone.
The word paradigm comes from the Greek root paradigma, meaning pattern, the pattern we expect to see, or the mental image of the way things are. We see everything through the perspective of our own paradigm. What we see, our paradigms, determine what we do, which in turn determines what we get. And unless we consciously stand apart from and examine our paradigms, we might never see that perhaps many of them are distorted, short-sighted, or just flat out wrong. I remember a mini paradigm shift I experienced one Sunday morning on a subway in New York City. People were sitting very quietly, some reading, some resting with their eyes closed. Suddenly, a man and his children entered the subway car. The children ran yelling to the car, throwing things, grabbing people's newspapers. Their father sat down near me and closed his eyes and did nothing. I felt irritated. I could not believe he would let his children run wild like that. After a few minutes of patience and restraint, I turned to him and said, "Sir, your children are really disturbing a lot of people. I wonder if you could control them just a little more."
Yeah, you're right. I should do something. But we just came from the hospital where their mother died about an hour ago, and I guess they don't know how to handle it. Yes, I don't know how to handle it.
Can you imagine how I felt at that moment? My paradigm shifted. Suddenly I saw things differently. And because I saw differently, I thought differently. I felt differently. I acted differently. My irritation vanished. Compassion flowed freely. I wanted to help instead of criticizing and complaining. Once you see things as they really are, you'll think, feel, and act differently. And you'll do it automatically, spontaneously. If you want to make minor changes in your life, work on your behavior. But if you want to make significant quantum breakthroughs, work on your paradigms.
Love that video. You know, I was thinking about what research says around COVID. And research says that we've all been through trauma. And that's a real fact, that we've been through trauma, and so have our kids. We've all been through things in our lives. And so it's so important with our paradigms that we don't prejudge, that we don't make assumptions. And especially, you know, with our kids, it's easy to do, especially when we're irritated and we're tired. So I love that word paradigms. Did you have any thoughts as you were watching that video, or anything you want to share? Feel free to come off mute and share.
Sonia said that she loves the examples. They're very concise and accurate.
Yeah. So true. So true. Thank you for that. Anybody else? Okay, so paradigms, great conversation again with your kids at home and why paradigms are so powerful in our lives. How do we see things? Here's another thing that we could do with these paradigms in our family meetings. We could talk about how we see ourselves. A lot of times our kids are lacking confidence, and self-confidence is so key in the world. And sometimes it's because they're lacking competence, or sometimes they just don't see themselves as they really are. Sometimes we don't have the confidence we need because we don't see ourselves as brilliant and capable and talented as we all are. And we believe that. And when we teach our 7 habits in our schools, we let our kids know you are brilliant. You are talented. You have gifts and talents to pay forward in the world and to change people's lives. And you can do anything you want to, right? You can define your future. And it's exciting. And I think as parents, we sometimes have to just stop in the whirlwind of life and remind our kids how wonderful they are. So I encourage you to do that. I'm sure that you do. So this is the See, Do, Get model. And I love this. We've seen it before because it just reminds us that the way we see things, our paradigms can impact our behavior as well as our kids. We actually influence our kids with our moods and our behavior, right? And the way we see things. Somebody said, okay, what's that? A grumpy wife is a grumpy life or something like that. I don't know. I'm sure I've got that wrong, but something like that. Whereas parents, we have so much power to set the tone, to set the mood for our family. So we're going to stop right here. I'd love to ask you, how are you doing in that area? Setting the tone for the family, even when days are hard.
Sarah said, happy spouse, happy house.
Okay, I like that one. That's probably what I'm thinking of. Happy spouse, happy house.
I think I've heard something similar. Happy wife, happy life. I'm sure there's
Like
several
spouse
more.
thing. Yeah, we get those husbands in there too. So yeah, so I love this model again. The way we see things impacts what we do, and our behaviors, the do part of this model, impacts our results. And sometimes if we keep getting the same results from our families, our children, we really need to look at here and here and how we see things. Brittany, have another one for me?
Sarah said, if mama ain't happy, ain't nobody happy.
Yeah, that's good. Truth, truth, truth.
In my house, that was very much true. Make mom happy so we can all have a good time, me and my brothers.
And we do learn that as kids, right? And our kids are watching us too. And again, we're not going to be perfect. And it's okay to say, look, I've had a hard day, right? But also with love and intention. So take a look at this quote. Again, just kind of wrapping up our discussion around paradigms and how impactful they are and just the functioning of our lives and our families. It's really important work. All right, I'll tell you how important it is. You ready? It's so important that we have to check ourselves regularly. For example, that question of how am I seeing this situation? Maybe how am I seeing my kids? Do you see your kids as gifted and talented? Do you see your kids as capable and brilliant and able to solve their own problems? Sometimes we don't. So here's just a quick example. This picture can be seen 2 very different ways. Same picture, different ways to see it. So somebody tell me, what are you seeing when you look at this picture?
A man, and he's blowing a horn.
That's exactly what I saw. So you can see the man with the big nose right here. And he's got the saxophone, it looks like, in his mouth. There's his hair.
Yeah, that's right.
Right. He's playing the saxophone. Okay. So, my perspective might be different than somebody else's. Does somebody else see something very different here?
I see something that I want to wait.
The shadowed silhouette of a woman.
Yes, the shadowed silhouette of a woman. So I love that too, because it just takes me a second to go from the horn blowing man to the beautiful silhouette of this woman. And there's her nose and her mouth and her eyes and partial hair, I guess that would be her hair and her chin. But the point is, and again, feel free to take this to your family.
And you know what else I
see things differently. Yes, go ahead.
3 birds. It looks like 2 birds are sitting on a limb and another one is flying into it to be a 3. It's like
Oh
two
my
birds
goodness.
sitting on a branch, I guess, and there's another one flying in to sit with them.
Yes, that is the first time I've seen that. It looks like the tree is bent over a little bit, maybe. Yeah, so what a
Ray
beautiful
said she saw a
conversation.
woman and then the man playing the saxophone. Is there a trick to the order of which you see it?
No, it's just a reminder that we have to stop in the whirlwind of life. Take some time to talk to our kids and families about how they're seeing things, how they're seeing situations. Because if we don't, we can oftentimes base our family relationships on assumptions, right? Assuming that our kids were doing something to really irritate us. Maybe they weren't, maybe they were. Assuming maybe our significant other saw things the same way that we did, but they don't. And so that communication piece and being intentional about it is so important. We talked a couple sessions ago about dating family members. That sounds really weird when we talk about it, but Dr. James Dobson, who's one of the renowned leaders in families, I think he's passed away, but anyway, he talked about spending one-on-one time and how important that was, whether it's with your significant other, it's with, if you have multiple children, having like a date with each child and spending that alone time. And part of the reason is because you can check those assumptions and you can ensure that you're on the same page, because you may very well be seeing things differently. And that takes us back to the see to get model. So love it. Really, really cool when we think about paradigm shifts. So let's take a look at the habits. Just to sum it all up, this is your learning. You are now habit experts. And those are the definitions. We've got habits and examples. Feel free to snap a picture. Okay. Good stuff right there. Again, great conversation for your family. Where are we? What do we need to do better? How can we become more effective individually as well as a family unit? So I wanted you to kind of keep this in mind as we go through this time together. We have less than a half an hour. I need 3 more hours with you people. Come on, stay with me. Yeah. Stay here until 10 because I have so much to share with you. But this is really a great way to think about our time together. You know, what are your reflections and what are some action steps that you will take? And I'm learning too as I present this and take back to your family. So great little reflection for you to take back to them as well. So just as a reminder about our habits, okay? Habit 1 is the foundational habit. It is the foundation for all of the habits because the other habits can't happen to you. You have to act on them. Being proactive is the crux of all of the 7 habits. By the way, your kids will probably tell you this, but there are 8 habits. There's an 8th habit, and it's called finding your voice and helping others find their voice. And it's basically at that point when we're living all of the 7 habits, not perfectly, but we're living them, we're striving forward. And what we've done is we found our gifts and talents, and we're using those to pay it forward. So we love habit 8. The students love habit 8. They love to say, what's my habit 8? In other words, what's my gift and talent? And we help them find that if they don't have a clearly defined talent. What is it that you love to do? What are you passionate about? We know those things can change as kids grow up, but it's a great conversation to have with our kids. So again, they know how brilliant they are and how special and important they are. So just some quick highlights of habit 1, okay? Remember, the opposite of proactive is reactive. And we look at it like this. The proactive person is the water bottle, calm, cool, collected, and the reactive person blows up when they're triggered. It's like shaking up a Coke bottle. So keep that in mind and have that conversation. Are you a Coke bottle? Or are you the water bottle? And what strategies are you using to stay in that water bottle zone? And then here's another question I've used with my family. What are your triggers? What are those things that really make you crazy? And that's a tricky conversation because we don't want the blame game. We don't want our kids to say, well, when she does this to me, or when he does that to me, then we're in that victim mentality. We don't want that. We want kids to learn how to say, I feel upset when I'm not understood or when I'm not heard. Those types of things. This is such a learning opportunity to have these conversations with your kids. And for your kids who are in Leader in Me schools or leadership schools where they're teaching the 7 habits, they're going to have so much to add to these conversations. If you haven't talked to your kids about the 7 habits, they will blow you away. They love the habits. Even our little baby kids, our 5-year-olds can tell you about being proactive. Here's a summary of habit 1, if you want to take a look at that and snap a picture. And what it does is it gives you common paradigms and then effective paradigms. Love that word paradigms. We're bringing that back to life through every habit. Yeah, aren't these great? Any thoughts from anybody as you look at habit 1? Okay. One of the biggest parts of habit 1 is this idea of freedom to choose. That human beings have the freedom to choose our response, that we can respond to circumstances, negativity, or triggers, or we can react. Brain science says we have 6 to 10 seconds to do that, to make a decision. And that's powerful. That's freedom for our kids. It's freedom for us. We don't have to react. We can respond as human beings. A great lesson here. So I'm going to take you to a video. In just a minute, I'm going to kind of go through the slideshow a little bit more quickly. It is called Green and Clean. It's a true story about how Dr. Covey made a contract with his son. Maybe some of you have seen it before, but a lot of people here have not. And I think it wraps up a lot of this thought around habit 1 and how to empower our kids, how to seek first to understand, and how to sometimes let them fail. So as I set this up, Brittany, would you keep your eye on the chat? Because here's the big question. Have you let your kids fail and talked about the lessons you can learn from failure? Because there are a lot of lessons we can learn from failure. So have you let your kids fail, and have you talked about the lessons from failure? Let's put some things in the chat. Brittany, have anything yet? Failure.
We're very quiet tonight.
Oh, they are. All right. I want you to think about that as we view our video, Green and Clean. Take some notes if you want to, and then we'll come back and talk a little bit more about teaching our kids failure and what a powerful lesson that is. And by the way, parents, when they see us fail, that can be a good thing. Sounds counterintuitive, but it really can be great. So here we go.
My little son agreed in a family meeting to take care of the yard.
I will, Dad.
Son, your job is green and clean. Let me show you what green looks like, son. Let's go over to our neighbor's house. That's the color we're after, son. Clean means, let's clean up half of it. Now notice that compared to that. That's green and clean, son. Your job is green and clean. Now, son, how you do that is up to you. I'd tell her how I do it if you want.
How'd you do it, Dad?
I turn on the sprinklers. But you may want to use buckets or hose or spit all day long. All we care about is what, son?
Green and clean.
What's green look like? Good. What's clean? Good. It's your job, son. Guess who your boss is, son?
Who?
You boss yourself. Guess who your helper is?
Who?
I am. You boss me.
I do?
If I ever have any time you need help, you just tell me what to do and I'll do it. And guess who judges you, son? That's right, you judge yourself. How do you think you judge yourself, son?
Green and clean.
What's green now? What's clean now? Good. Is that a deal, son? You think about it for a day or two. Saturday. How do you feel, son?
I'll do it.
Do what?
Green and clean.
How?
It's up to me.
Who's your boss?
I boss myself.
Who judges you?
I judge myself.
How do you judge yourself?
Green and clean.
What's green? Good. Clean? Good. Who's your helper?
You are if you have time.
What if I don't have time?
I gotta do green and clean.
Is that a deal, son?
Deal.
Deal was made. He did nothing. Nothing all that Saturday. All that Sunday. Monday. It's Tuesday morning. Going to work. Hot. Summer day. Burning up. Yellowing. Neighbor's yard. Green and clean. Manicured. Garbage strewn right down the side lawn. from a Saturday night barbecue, falling out the bottom of the sack, 3 feet from my car. I could rationalize a little away Saturday and Sunday, but Monday, this is inexcusable. I was ready to move to win-lose. Now, son, you get out there, you get over here, or I'm telling, but the moment you do, you kill effectiveness. You go for efficiency. Yeah, he'll clean that up. And what happens tomorrow when you're not there? Bite your tongue. Reaffirm your purpose. Raise boys, not grass. I'll see what it looks like tonight. Could hardly wait to get home. Driving, going around the corner, there where my yard was. Tuesday afternoon, more cluttered, more yellow than ever. My son across the street, playing ball. I was burning. We'd agree that we'd walk around the yard twice a week, and he'd show me how it's going. Hi, son. How you doing?
Just fine, Dad.
I was faking it totally. How's it going in the yard, son?
Just fine, Dad.
I bit my tongue. After dinner, why don't we walk around? You can show me how it's going. Before we got to the door, you could see his lip. By the time we got out to the front yard, just open bawling.
So hard.
I mean, what was hard? He hadn't done one single thing. I'll tell you what hard is moving up the level of initiative. You cannot hold people responsible for results if you supervise their methods. Anything you want me to do to help, son?
Would ya?
What was our agreement?
So you'd help me if you had time.
I've got time.
You do? I'll be right back.
Ran in the house, came out with 2 sacks. He handed me one, he took one. That's when he signed the win-win agreement. And he only asked for help a couple more times that entire summer. It's his job. It takes time to set up the agreement and to reaffirm it. The tendency is to backslide on it when you see mistakes. Keep believing in the people. Holding them accountable in the way agreed.
Ooh, that's a patient dad right there. Oh, love that video. It's one of my favorites in our content. Would love to hear from you. What are you thinking, everybody? Thoughts, lessons learned?
I think Ashley was responding to you saying that's okay for their children to see their parents make mistakes. And she said, yes, so they don't get disappointed later on.
Yeah, that's so true. Yeah, because we're only human. They need to know that not only are we not perfect, but they're going to have challenges as well. Absolutely. Anybody else? Thoughts about the video?
I was trying not to talk too much.
No, we love it. We love it.
Yeah.
Yes, thank you, Carmen.
But I remember when my brother went for a job interview and he didn't get the job. Even though he definitely was qualified, he just didn't get the job. Someone on the inside got the job. So his kids, and this is 3 of them, they were flabbergasted that he wasn't upset. He was happy. But I think because of the way he is, he used that as a, I guess, role model type of stage to show them that, hey, celebrate your failures. It's no big deal. You'll have another chance to do this. And I'm thinking, just thinking back to that parents show children how to deal with disappointment just by being a role model.
Yes. Yes. Yes, Carmen. And that's the thing. We are going to be disappointed. We are going to make mistakes. We will fail every day. We will fail. And so kids, even though it sounds like a depressing lesson, it's truth. And they need to know that just because they failed doesn't mean they're a failure, right? And that's where our kids get confused sometimes. I worked in a school as a principal, and in the school, there was this mentality of every child had to be a straight A student. I might be exaggerating a little bit, but that's how it felt to me as a principal, that so many parents were promoting this idea that they had to be perfect. And the mental and emotional toll that it took on those students was overwhelmingly negative. We had so much anxiety in our kids. We had kids crying if they got a B. Man, if I got a B in high school, I was happy. So I don't know. It was just a whole different paradigm, and kids were suffering for that. And I always thought, where are they going to be in 10 years or 20 years? What if they get a B in college? Well, I mean, what will they do? How bad emotionally could this be for them? I don't know. Any thoughts from you as we think about failure and teaching our kids that we're not perfect and that's okay?
Yeah. The other thing I was going to say was I kind of like that mindset because to me, it develops resilience in a kid or in anyone, I guess.
Yes.
And just kind of gives them the mindset or a clue that, gee, I'll just turn my disappointment into a success later.
Exactly. And you know what? I think that's another lesson. We could sit and share with our kids those appropriate stories about when we failed and how looking back at it now, it became a win. And that's habit 4. That's think win-win. How was our failure a success? How did it shape us? How did we become better and stronger and more resilient because of that? Those are stories we need to pass down. I encourage you to tell stories to your kids, not just from books, but from your life. We talked about this before and how powerful they are. And also, this is the last thing I want to share with you tonight because we only have about 10 minutes, but it's this idea of what we call the emotional bank account. Brittany, did you want to jump in?
Marie just said, I feel like without failures, how could we appreciate the win or a win?
What would we do? I'm not sure we could, right? It would be just another day. I always win. And we have kids who are like that too. We have people who always win and you think, oh man, when they lose something, it's going to be a really rude awakening, right? So yeah, I'll take the failure. I'll learn from it. I think that's even better. So this emotional bank account piece, take a look at the slide if you would. And this is about us knowing, this is a little different concept. We haven't talked about it before fully, but it's about knowing the currency of our kids. So what this means is that in any relationship, we make deposits and we make withdrawals emotionally. And it's really important that we know what the deposits are for our kids. So maybe that deposit is one-on-one time. Maybe it's words of affirmation. Maybe it's a physical hug. Right. And I have 3 kids and they're all different and their love language, and it's kind of like love languages, is really different. Each one of them has something that connects to their sense of well-being. And they know mine too. They know what's important to me. I'm not big into gifts. You don't need to give me gifts. But if you unload the dishwasher, oh yeah, gifts of service. I'll take that over a dozen roses anytime. Just unload the dishwasher. And so those conversations are really good to have with our families to build trusting relationships. What is your currency? Hey team, right now, if you want to, in the chat box, why don't you write what your currency is? It doesn't have to be a specific love language, but what are those things that build up your emotional bank account? Just yell out, Miss Brittany, when you see things.
I'll share mine. Flowers are nice, but I really enjoy when there's a project that's a little too technical for me as far as using certain tools to create or get done. And then I come home and it's done and it's just the best.
Yay. That's
me so happy.
Yeah, it's like a gift. The emotional bank account, getting a deposit is like getting a gift, isn't it?
Yes.
Yeah.
Aaron said random hugs and I love yous.
Oh, see, that's nice. Yeah, that's awesome. My husband likes the words too, words of affirmation. And because that's not big for me, I have to work at it. Like I have to work at providing that for him because it's not my love language or my emotional deposit. Anybody else? No? All right. Here's what happens.
Oh, sorry.
Oh, go ahead. No, go ahead.
Carmen said notes left by her husband on the table.
Oh, that's
I like
really
those. Those are nice.
Yeah, it's really thoughtful. Very thoughtful. So as we think about getting along with others, and as we go up that maturity continuum, we talked a little bit tonight about habit one, and then we jumped into the idea of failure and resiliency and being those role models for our kids, and then looking at the culture of our family as well. This is a great slide as we think about working together. And again, it's a takeoff from, or the content around, habit 4, thinking win-win. And I love this because it reminds us that in a family, for us to think win-win, we have to have a paradigm of what we call abundance. We call it abundance mentality, of wanting everybody to win. And I don't mean just win a game, but to be successful in our family, of caring about others to the point where it doesn't take away from me if you get a trophy, or if you win a game, or if you get an accolade at school. Teaching our kids to be happy for each other is a really important skill. Sometimes our kids don't have that skill because it's a very competitive society. Yes, agree? Thoughts? Okay, so here's something, again, you can talk to your kids about at home. What are withdrawals for our family, or for me personally as a family member? And what are deposits? And you could go through with each family member, write these out, get some chart paper, some scrap paper, and just write these out. What's important to me? And then what really is a trigger for me, or is a withdrawal for me? And research says that we take the most withdrawals from the people that we love the most. It's true, really. I think about that. I think about my own family members and maybe taking advantage of their unconditional love sometimes. I'm not always at my best with the people I love the most. Whew, it's kind of convicting. I think sometimes I'm nicer to the people that I work with than I am to my own, family sometimes. And so I have to check this list in myself. Any thoughts about this picture? I think it's really powerful. You can fill in the blanks for your family any way you want to. This is going to be our last video of the evening before we do a little wrap-up activity. And I don't think I've shown you this one, so I'm excited about you seeing this. Brittany, do you have somebody?
Carmen said that I feel that learning about these 7 habits is truly a renewed blessing for me and the parents that I work with.
Yeah, that's awesome. And again, Carmen, you and I were talking a little bit earlier around sharing the book, the 7 Habits book for families. And yeah, tell people about the 7 habits. It's good stuff, and they're practical, and they can also change your life. So what is it that our kids want from us? One of the top answers in surveys nationwide is credibility. So here's the question, parents. Do you have credibility with your kids? What can you do to increase your credibility? Let's take a look at this video.
Tickets! Ah, how can I help you, sir? How much for the 2 of us? $1 each, and free if the kid's under 5. How old is he? My son is 6. Here's $2. Mister, you could have told me he was younger. I wouldn't have known the difference. True. But he would have known.
I love that video. It just reminds us, parents, of how much impact we have on our kids. Sometimes we forget. We forget how important we are. And I just want to tell you that you are really important. You set the stage, you set the tone, you're creating this vision for your family. I want to give you a quick reminder of some of the things we talked about over the past few weeks. One is that family meeting. maybe once a week to decide, who's going where are we going to eat, who's grocery shopping, who's going to do the laundry, who's going to feed the dog. That meeting can be so powerful for you as a communication tool. We talked about a family mission statement, developing that mission statement with your family. Who are we? What do we believe in our home? And getting everybody to help write that and sign it and put it up on your refrigerator. And then go back to that mission statement when you need to, maybe at that family meeting, and rewrite it or revise it or just attempt to live up to that and just make that your North Star as a family. We talked about the paradigms and how important it is not to make up assumptions and to have that communication time, that one-on-one time with our kids. So do your very best. I know it's tough in this whirlwind, but do your best to have some alone time. It doesn't have to be a long time. I mean, I think about just the simple things. 10 minutes to read a story to your little ones can make all the difference, right? Also, we talked about teaching failure and resiliency and how important it is to model not only failure, we'll probably do that naturally, and then to get up again and show them how you can recover and become resilient and hopeful through failure. And then we also talked about really diving deep into the 7 habits with our kids and with our families. And don't forget habit 8, reminding our kids of their many gifts and talents and how they're such a treasure and a gift to the world. So those are kind of my high level takeaways from our time together. Love to hear from you. We have about 2 minutes left. Can we get some people to share out what you're taking away from this session or for any session that we've had over the past 7 weeks? Any takeaways?
I was going back through and looking at some of my notes in the book, and I see that I highlighted one that is a great takeaway for me. Sharpening the saw. It's the single highest leverage activity in life because it affects everything else so powerfully.
Yes.
That stuck with me.
Carmen, I think you brought it home because I will tell you, one of the things we don't do well sometimes as parents is take care of ourselves. It's because we feel guilty, all kinds of crazy reasons. I really encourage you to, on your calendar, we talked about this, put down some time for yourself, write it down, put it in ink, execute on that goal, whether it's a half hour reading a book, taking a walk, exercising, whatever it is that brings you purpose and joy so that you can live your purpose as a family leader more effectively. It's beautiful. Anybody else want to share their takeaways? Oh, the withdrawals slide. Okay, I saw that. I'm going to go ahead and find that. Brittany, will you just kind of monitor the chat while I find that slide?
Sure. While you're looking, Carmen mentioned that she had the book, and then Miss Betsy just mentioned writing it on your calendar. And if you have not already received the free kit, you can use the link I just put in the chat, and we'll provide the workshop guide, the book, and the calendar for you from Franklin Covey. And that'll be sent to your child's school. And we would definitely love feedback on how you enjoyed or things that we could work on for this workshop. And I just want to say I'm very happy that all of you were able to make it this tonight and all of the nights that we've had this series. And I'm really hoping that these habits will make us all better people and eventually a better world.
Oh, thanks, Brittany. Everybody, this is the slide that somebody asked for me to pull back up. Feel free to take a picture of it. I'm going to just say from the bottom of my heart, thank you. Every time I teach and train this, I become better. And I want to thank you for your impact on me. So I'm going to end with some old school music and wish you a wonderful, wonderful week and weekend. Hey, it's almost the weekend. Take care of yourselves, sharpen the saw, and keep changing the world, everybody.
Thank you, Betsy, very much.
Bye, everybody. You are welcome.